Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by A.G. Hines Company, year in, year out, 10 decades plus. The Hines family have been providing cutting-edge building materials and top-flight tools to people all across East Tennessee. Whether you're a professional builder, contractor, or just a do-it-yourselfer, you've got your own project you're working on this winter versus next spring. If you're doing one this winter, A.G. Hines Company can help you get the right winter materials, because when you're doing your project, you better get the right materials for that. It can make a difference. A.G. Hines Company, that's where you need to go if you're starting your own project now or a month from now. aghines.com to learn more. All right, let's welcome in the next member of our panel right over here, Vince Ferrara. Vince, thanks for being with us, buddy.
Appreciate it, John.
All right, we are going to look very quickly. So the nerds, get ready. You'll love this. The non-nerds, be patient. It's information. Just listen to my words and don't worry about the graphs. But I wanted to see, 7 games in is kind of our catch-up with basketball since we've been doing football. I wanted to see how this team is different from last year's team. Or is it? Let's take a look. First of all, let's look offense versus defense. What you got there, this is against the SEC. All right, this is everybody in the SEC plotted. Defensive rating in the SEC is the top to bottom axis. The offensive rating is left to right, and you'll see that Tennessee is kind of low on the defensive, or high on the defensive end, low on the offensive end. I don't think anybody would be surprised by that. Let's go to the next one. And that's effective field goal percentage versus fast break points. You want to be up there in the upper right. You don't want to be in the lower left, because lower left means you're not very good at effective field goal percentage. It means you don't get a lot of fast break points. Well, Tennessee's in the lower left. In terms of fast break points, only South Carolina, Texas A&M, and Vanderbilt get fewer fast break points than Tennessee, which kind of ties in with what we saw last year. Let's take a look at this year's offense versus last year's offense. What you need here, this is the shot chart from last year on the left, shot chart from this year on the right. Blue bad, red good. Offensively, you see you're hitting much more under the basket. You're good from close range right now, but you're not as good overall. There's a lot more blue. Now, maybe that'll change up as the season goes on. You're only 7 games in, but your shooting isn't quite as good as it was a year ago. Let's look at defense. Now, this next graphic, the title says offense, but that's defense. Last year, the opponent was blue. It looked like an ice sheet. That's what you want. Your defense was spectacular. This year, there's some places where they can hit, and there's some places like the white, that's 40%. That's kind of in the danger zone for you. So your defense not quite as good as it was last year, depending on the stats you look at. And what we're looking at, what's interesting is, let's take a look at the shooting. Let's look at the shot chart here. The bigger the red means you shot more shots there. The deeper the red means the better you're shooting. You're tearing it up under the basket. And you could sit there and say, well, of course you are. Under the basket, who's going to miss? But you're much better under the basket this year than you were last year. You're not as good anywhere else. Now, what's interesting is if you look at their shooting percentage from 2, their shooting percentage from 3, it's almost identical from last year, almost identical. In terms of their overall effective field goal percentage, it was 49.8 last year, 49.9 this year, or actually reverse that. So it's practically the same, 0.1 difference. And then let's look at the last one, the Pomeroy rankings. Overall rank, it looks the same every year, basically. The last 3 years, 9, 6, 9. The defensive efficiency, 3, 1, 3, 5. Offensive efficiency, 37, 64, 35, 85. What you're seeing there, look at 21, 22. You were 9, you were 3rd in defense, 35th in offense. This year, you were 9, 3rd in defense, 37 in offense. All right, I'm going to start with you, Vince. That's it for our math graphic part of the show. But just want to give everybody a visual clue as to what's going on here. They brought in a bunch of shooters. Rick Barnes talked about, we're going to be a much better shooting team this year. They're not. Is it 7 games in? Let's see what we get. Or is this just a Rick Barnes team? It doesn't matter who you get. They're going to be playing the same offense. They're going to be doing what they do. The focus is going to be on defense. So it's going to be the same. Where are you going?
Well, it is a tough question. The fear was that you'd have offensive players coming in and addressing the needs to make your team better, like drivers and the guy that can create his own shot and bail you out of a shot clock, like Connect. But then Rick Barnes' offense would kind of bring them constrict them and bring them back to what they normally do. I think early in the year we saw it be different. And at times it's been different, mean, Rick Barnes going isolation to try to save a game and ditching the motion, I think tells you that he is willing to adjust. I think it's the other piece is figuring out how to play with Connect, especially because there's so many newer parts. I would still take this team and this roster because you have a lot of really experienced guys that are proven that can play better than they've shown so far, even though the numbers look identical.
Mark, your take.
I think Vescovy is the guy that a lot of the offense was run through because of his motion, and now with Connect being able to catch and go one-on-one, he is the focal point, and so Vescovy has to get better offense. He has brought in good pieces. The reality is the pieces that have been here in Vescovy and Ziegler are not playing well. The thing for me, the other stat on that is the free throw discrepancy.
Yeah.
I mean, we're at the other teams have shot 108 to our 54 the last 3 games. They've made more 72 than we've even attempted. So how much does last year's game of how we played against Duke, the physicality, how much of that is everybody's MO and they've got to out-tough us? Because it looks like some of those games, we've been out-tough this year when I thought last year we were never really outmanned.
And Mark, they're actually shooting a higher percentage, 78 to 71. So if they can get to the line, it could help them buy some more points.
Very quick, we got a minute to split between the two of you. Your thoughts on what's up with the offense. Is this a Barnes thing or is this player thing?
I think right now it's a bit of a player thing. Ziegler is going to get better offensively, and I think Jordan Gainey is going to end up being a good shooter. He's had some games where he was awful shooting. I think he'll figure it out. He'll play better. So those, to me, along with Vescovy, have not played at the level they can, and I expect them to get better.
Josh?
Yeah, I think they are different in that they have more offensive weapons that they can count on, that they can say, hey, go do something. They don't have DeLeon right now. He would be one of those guys, too. And they don't have – last year they didn't have a Connect, a guy where he's like, okay, he might go for 30 to 40 points legitimately against a big-time opponent. But if you're also saying, yeah, but I'm still worried in the NCAA tournament against a big-time team that's just not going to show up and the shooting's going to be off and they're going to have an advantage at the free throw line and we'll lose, I totally get it.
Well, it's interesting. I was talking to somebody else this week about Olivier Combois. I didn't look at his numbers this week, but as of about a week ago, he was averaging 18 points a game and 9 boards a game. Okay, he didn't do that here. Does that say something to us? That maybe this system worrying too much about, you did the wrong thing on defense, come sit the heck down, where if you just let the guy play, he puts up the points. Of course, what we're not tracking there is you don't see how many points he's giving up per game. His stats are up on the offensive end. Go ahead,
And we're also
jump in.
tracking Rick Barnes' track record of success winning versus Juwan Howard.
Yep,
Right? And so
that's
I would
true.
say Rick Barnes, however he's doing it, may not be national championship level, but it's been better than what Juwan Howard's done.
Yeah, that's true.
The strength of the schedule might also play a factor into those numbers because Tennessee's played 4 really good teams so far.
Yep. All right, very good. When we come back, I'm going to ask Mark for his 4 biggest concerns moving forward about this Tennessee basketball team. I don't think we've stepped on any of them really too much so far. So we'll get his 4 biggest concerns. And if we have stepped on any of them so far, he's going to deep dive next. Come on back on the Sports Source.
I just hear those sleigh bells jingling, ring ting-a-tingling too. Come on, it's lovely weather, stay right together with you. Outside the snow is falling and friends are calling you.